Good day, listeners. Welcome to the world of Chandamama. Let's continue with Saga of Vishnu. In the previous chapter, we saw how Dhruva became the pole star through his determination and faith in Vishnu. In this chapter, let's listen to the story of Kurmavatara. Saga of Vishnu, Chapter 4, The Magic of Maya. In the forest of Naimisharanya, sage Sutta went on narrating to the other sages the great event known as the churning of the ocean. Both gods and demons took part in this exercise. The two communities holding the two ends of the serpent Vasuki, which was being used as the rope. Mount Mandara served as the central pole. As the churning progressed, the gods showed signs of strain. The demons laughed at them. Feeling embarrassed, the gods put in all their strength to churn the ocean better. That resulted in the serpent Vasuki growing extremely weak. He began emitting poison. It was so powerful that, if allowed to spread in the atmosphere, it would have destroyed the world. The gods prayed to Lord Shiva to intervene. Shiva swallowed up the whole quantity of the terrible stuff. Its effect changed the color of his throat to blue. Hence, Shiva is known as Nilakanta, or the blue-throated god. Yet another unforeseen problem came to the surface. The ground beneath Mount Mandara could not bear its continuous movement. As the earth gave way, the mount began to sink. At this critical juncture, Vishnu incarnated as a tortoise and bore the mount on his back so that the churning could proceed without any difficulty. This incarnation of Vishnu is known as the Kurmavatara. Priceless items emerged one by one from the depths of the ocean. They were Chandra, the moon, goddess Lakshmi, the great horse, the Kalpavata, the wish-fulfilling tree, Kamadhenu, the wish-fulfilling cow, and the wonderful elephant Airavata, among many other objects. In order to keep himself cool, despite the terrible poison inhaled by him, Lord Shiva chose Chandra to dwell on his head. Thereby he got another name, Chandrasekhara. Goddess Lakshmi garlanded Vishnu, choosing him as her consort. Hence, Vishnu came to be known as Lakshmi Kanta. At last emerged Dhanvantari, holding a treasure of medicines as well as the most desired item, a jar full of amrita or nectar. There had been no dispute between the gods and the demons regarding the division of the treasures the ocean had yielded to them. But both camps were eager to take hold of the nectar, and a fight broke out between them. The demons, after all, were stronger than the gods. They snatched away the jar of nectar from the gods. That was a great crisis. Once the demons drank the stuff, they would become immortal. They would vanquish the gods and any power that stood in their way. The demons valued nothing more than their pleasure and power. They had no concern for peace, justice, and freedom, without which no progress can be made. Under their mastery, the earth would ever remain a field of anarchy. Suddenly, there appeared between the warring parties a damsel of indescribable beauty. Gods and demons looked at her, agape with wonder. The jar of amrita was in the hands of the demons, but when the damsel extended her hands to receive it, they quietly handed it over to her without even questioning who she was and what she proposed to do with the amrita. At her suggestion, the gods and demons sat in 2 rows. They got the impression that she would be distributing the nectar among all of them. The damsel began to dole out the stuff first to the gods. The demons thought that their turn would come soon, but the quantity was getting less and less. One demon, who happened to be the son of the sea demoness Simhika, stealthily sat down amidst the gods and got a share of the nectar. But the sun and the moon, who meanwhile had realized that the damsel was none other than Vishnu, whispered to him about the clever young demon. Instantly, Vishnu's weapon, the Sudarshana Chakra, rushed to punish him. He fled, and the weapon followed him and cut him into 2. However, since he had drunk the nectar, he continued to live in 2 parts, to be called Rahu and Ketu. His vengeance against the sun and the moon was never to end. He occasionally swallows one of them and vomits him out. That causes the eclipses. With the pot of Amrita empty, the damsel simply vanished. It was too late when the demons realized that they had been tricked. During the churning of the ocean, Vishnu performed 3 roles as Dhanvantari, who brought not only the nectar but also the Vedas containing the science of health and the knowledge of medicines, as the tortoise who supported the mountain, and as Jaganmohini, the world enchanting beauty who made it possible for the gods to get the Amrita. Dhanvantari is worshipped by physicians as their deity. One day, the sage Narada, while visiting Mount Kailasha in order to pay his obeisance to Lord Shiva, was heard singing the miracle performed by Vishnu as Jaganmohini. Goddess Parvati felt amused to be told that Vishnu could assume a form which so easily befooled the demons. Narada asserted that there was nobody who would not be spellbound by the beauty of Jaganmohini. Parvati expressed her feeling of amusement and curiosity to Lord Shiva. Both riding their bull went to Goloka, the abode of Vishnu. "We are here to have a glimpse of your power as Jaganmohini." "Well, I assume different forms to serve different purposes. That cannot interest you," said Vishnu. The very next moment they saw a charming damsel standing at some distance, a lotus in her hand. Without a word, Shiva walked towards her. In no time, both disappeared in the infinite space. Surprised, Parvati returned to Kailasha alone. The gods enjoyed the beautiful form Vishnu had taken and Shiva's self-forgetful conduct. Narada followed the two, playing the raga Shivaranjani on his veena. Jaganmohini led Shiva through several spheres of heaven back to Kailasha. There, the damsel changed into Vishnu. "My sister," Vishnu told Parvati, who stood rather puzzled. "Here's your husband." Shiva grew conscious of the great and irresistible power of Vishnu called the Maya. Nobody can rise above the spell of Maya. Years later, an emanation of Vishnu was born as the son of a great sage named Kardama and his wife Devahuti. Known as Kapila, he practiced severe penance even as a child and grew famous as a wise sage. When the young sage decided to leave home for the forest in order to remain absorbed in meditation, his mother felt very sad. Kapila enlightened her with his wise words, which are famous as the philosophy of Sankhya. Kapila remained engrossed in meditation in a cave in the nether world. An illustrious king, Sagara, decided to perform a special yagna. He sent a horse which was to wander through many a land and return to its master. If nobody detained it, the yagna would be successful. Indra feared that if the rare yagna would conclude successfully, Sagara might grow powerful enough to claim from him the position of the king of gods. He managed to steal the horse when those who were guarding it were not alert. He led it to the hermitage of Kapila and tied it to a tree there. The missing horse created a great commotion at the court of King Sagara. He ordered his sons, 1,000 in number, to search every nook and corner of the earth and recover the lost animal. His sons looked for the horse everywhere. Unable to locate it on the earth, they entered the nether world and, after a long search, found it in front of Kapila's cave. Mad with the success of their mission, they created a lot of noise and accused Kapila of stealing the horse. Kapila woke up from his trance and angrily looked at the unruly crowd. At once, all the 1,000 princes were reduced to ashes. 3 generations later, a great prince of the dynasty, Bhagiratha, appeased the sage and learned the secret of resurrecting his grandsires. He was told that he must bring the sacred Ganga flowing in the heavens down to the earth and make it flow over the ashes. Bhagiratha prayed to the spirit of Ganga to agree to come down on the earth. She consented to oblige him, but the earth might not be able to bear the impact of the mighty fall from the heavens. Bhagiratha prayed to Lord Shiva, who agreed to bear the fall on his head. Thus did the heavenly Ganga come down to the earth, at first descending on Shiva's head and then slowly flowing down to the earth. Shiva became known as Gangadhara, one who held the Ganga. Once again, Vishnu had to be incarnated on the earth for the sake of 2 of his faithful servants. It happened like this. The 4 sons of Brahma, Sanaka, Sananda, Sanat Sujata and Sanat Kumara, came to meet Vishnu. The Lord's 2 servants who guarded Goloka refused to let them in, for the 4 looked like ordinary boys. Failing to impress upon the gods that Vishnu would only be too happy to see them, the 4 brothers, in their disgust, said as the gods behaved like demons, they deserved to be born as demons. The commotion reached the ears of Vishnu and Lakshmi. They came out and received the 4 visitors cordially, but by then they had already cast a curse on the 2 gods, which could not be undone. Friends, let's see what happens to the story in the next chapter. Thank you for listening. This is Ramya signing off.